Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? That's weird. Why am I so small? There we go. Sorted. How's life? Welcome to the BBC Spews once again. Sensible, wise, sagacious listeners. One thing, I was just hauled to task this morning for pronouncing Welsh words wrong. Plaid Cymru. Cymru. Apparently it's Cymru and it offends particularly irate sheepshag. I mean, Welsh people. I'm kidding. Whoever it was that sent me an irate message about pronouncing things incorrectly. It's all right. It's all right. I'll do better. You know, I've got a lot of Welsh heritage as well, hailing from Middlesbrough. There's a lot of Welsh people in my bloodline. I believe that's because nobody else would move there. When they first found iron and steel in the hills of Teesside, they had to import workers from impoverished parts of the UK. And apparently, something like 50% of the original inhabitants of Middlesbrough were from Wales. So I think that's why I'm a relatively short, swarthy, dark hair and blue eyes. I think that's a sort of Welsh thing, isn't it? There was an old doctor when I did my first medical, and he took one look at me and said, "You're Welsh, you aren't you?" And I said, "No, I'm from fucking Middlesbrough." And he said, No, I can tell by looking at you. Apparently, dark hair and blue eyes is common in the Welsh and the sort of Celtic fringe. But who cares about that? So yeah, it's Plaid Cymru. Now we know. What's the date? I always do that as well. It's the 7th of April. Time flies when you're having fun. Welcome to everybody. We'll do some news in a moment. Who's in the chat? All the regulars get a mention. Samuel Saxon, Kirky Bally, Professor Andy, Kev Wright, Jeff Wedden, how you doing? Bill Beebe, Ralph Cray, Scout Orby, Whiskey Straight, Al's in. All right, Al, I hope you're doing all right, mate. Maggot AJ, Jeff Wedden, I don't know who else. Looks like there's a shortage of moderators in here today. Stevie Cannon, Steve Ellis. I'll have to promote some people. Husky, Bry Pace, Derek, Jeff Hamilton slips in. All right, slip. Yakub's back in. Chris Collin, Blue Van Man, Now Then, Papa Golf, Terry Wookford, Karen, Hetherington, Ginger Mongoose, Jim Flowers, Davy Boy, the resident Codhead is still in the chat. Phil, everybody else, Winston, Now Then, Shiners, all right. Gavin, hope I haven't missed too many, and Mac Tavish. Right. First things first, before I get into the news from the new news, i.e. today's news from today's BBC, horrendous, not really the news website, I do want to briefly talk about a relatively old story because the Lotus Eaters covered it today, and it's Patrice Cullors. I'm sure you've seen it, those of you that have watched the Lotus Eaters podcast of the day, but here's an old story from the BBC which sort of illustrates a lot of the shit that they're doing. And the reason I'm bringing this up, even though the story's from the 28th of May of last year, is because, well, actually, I was watching South Park yesterday, and this piece made me laugh, and then I've decided to save it for use before I read this story out. So hopefully the audio works. It's hilariously racist, so I can't really go into it too much, but this is the quote that I liked.
I'm freaking out. Get calm, Eric. They're right over there, and they're going to start screaming and banging on those drums, and then they're Thank you, Butters. All right, we need to go over there and find out what we can from those commie rats.
It's that good. So this is why I'm looking at an old story, because of that sentence there.
Thank you, Butters. All right, we need to go over there and find out what we can from those commie rats.
We need to go out. We need to go over there and find out what we can from those commie rats. That's what we need to do, lads. That's what we need to do. So let's have a look, shall we? Fucking commie rats. Patrice Cullors. But first of all, here's something else. So I've just made a South Park reference. Older people in the chat will remember Uncle Buck. I'm going to make an Uncle Buck reference. Remember Uncle Buck? Here's a quarter. Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. That's the first thing I'd say to Patrice Cullors. A woman's got that much money. How has she not had that fucking carbuncle lasered off a fucking Swede? Look at that fucking thing on her head. So, first things first, Patrice. Get yourself, you're rich as fuck now. You've got 5 houses. Get yourself a stairmaster and get a fucking rat to gnaw that thing off your face. Yeah? The 37-year-old militant commie rat said she's resigned, obviously, because she wants to jet off into the sun with all of her ill-gotten gains. Basically, Black Lives Matter, as Carl correctly said, Black Lives Matter was a fucking scam. It was the best heist you'll ever see. It was like Ocean's 11. But instead of having Don Cheadle doing the worst British accent known to man, you've got 3 fat black women just stealing everybody's money, basically pinching money from nice people. Tim Nice But Dim. Remember Tim Nice But Dim? That's what the crack is. Like, they've just stole money off people that were too nice but too poorly educated to know better. Because you must have realised that Black Lives Matter as an organisation doesn't really have any overheads. I was listening to the podcast today, and they were saying how apparently they filed a tax return saying that they spent $30 million in expenses. And it was like, it was such a nebula movement all around the world. It was basically led by social media. Like, they were just going on Facebook and Twitter and saying, let's go and have a fucking riot outside Staples on 5th Street. What expenses have they got? I don't understand how you have a $30 million in expenses. It's like their expense account's worse than Diane Abbott's. And Diane Abbott empties the local Greggs twice a fucking day for a breakfast and a dinner. Lunch, she empties the fucking bar at Parliament or whatever it is. It's lunacy that these people think they can get away with it. And the amusing thing is, they don't actually think they can get away with it, do they? They actually don't feel as if they have to try to get away with it, because I've talked about this many times before. The reason these people are so easy to catch red-handed is because they're well aware that they own Silicon Valley and the mainstream media. So the reason people like Hunter Biden and fucking Bungalow Joe and this shit for brains commie rat get away with it are easy to catch is because they're more than happy to just literally tell you. I've mentioned this loads of times. They'll just tell you. They'll just tell you. And you'll get some woke shit for brains in my chat saying, oh, yeah, well, what about Jacob Rees-Mogg? Like, all they've got is whataboutism. Because when you point out stuff that is just fucking horrendous, they've got nothing. And the reason they've got nothing is because these fuckers tell you what they're doing. They just come right out and tell you. It's not like there's some sort of clever investigative journalism going on. They just tell you. And go and watch the Lotus podcast of the Lotus Eaters. They sit there and go through the video. I'm not going to do that because I read the BBC and I'm far more scathing in my criticism. But I'll probably get fucking jailed if I sit through 20 minutes of these 3 fucking dippy mares sitting around a table, drinking $400 bottles of champagne, eating fucking cheese. It was so middle class, everything about it, even what they're eating and drinking. You know what I mean? Big daft glasses and big daft bottles and a big daft spread with cheese. Like, oh yes, like a Guardian reader sitting on a cashmere rug outside a Brexit march. Do you remember that? When they were having the Brexit, get Brexit done, you cunts, on account of the fact that 20 million people told you to get it done and you promised that you'd respect the result. And we made you do it again and again and again and again. And you lost the European elections and you lost 2 general elections and you lost the referendum, but you still didn't want to do it because you're a bunch of fucking assholes. And there was 2 silly middle-class walksters sitting on like a cashmere fucking rug, drinking French champagne, and eating, like, having a wine and cheese party. And I was like, you people just have no idea, do you? You just have no idea at all. Have no idea. You think like all the fucking plumbers and bricklayers stood there with their angry signs are going to be impressed by the middle class Karen with the fucking wine and cheese party going on. I mean, do me a favor. Do me a fucking favor. So these lunatics are just taking the fucking Michael, and it's as obvious as the nose on your face. She dropped out because she wanted to take the fucking money and run, and said, "Oh, with smart, experienced people supporting the organisation, I know it's in good hands." The right-wing attacks were trying to discredit my character, and I don't operate off what the right thinks about me. Listen, communist, they don't need to discredit your character because you do it yourself. You use the term trained Marxist. This is, again, the thing that blows my mind about the Walksters. The term trained Marxist didn't come from Tucker Carlson or Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity or any right-wing dickhead. The term trained Marxist come from her. She was giving an interview and she said, "We are trained Marxists," right? That's just a fucking fact. Patrice Cullors, trained Marxist, that term was used by Patrice Cullors. So when you say she's a fucking Marxist and that's a Marxist organisation, and the Guardian reader goes, "No way, man, that's just like a right-wing smear," she used the term. Wasn't me, wasn't you, wasn't the Daily Mail. It was her. These fucking idiots tell you everything you need to hear as a centrist or a right-winger who just wants to destroy their shit bullshit narrative. They use the term trained man. It wasn't me, wasn't Tucker. It was her. So Patrice Cullors is a Marxist, a self-described Marxist who was fucking trained. Don't know what training they did, but judging by the fact that she sits around a big table with all of her daft fucking mates drinking expensive champagne, talking shit about how she's got a runway at her latest house, she's doing a good job of it. I'll tell you what, the training took, didn't it? Whatever training they gave her, it's fucking, she is a textbook example of a Marxist. So yeah, nice one. Best training in the world. Did a good job with her, whoever it was on her training team. The three women who found it, and it was cringe, and they were going, "Oh yeah, the ghost of George Floyd was opening the fucking bank vault for us." Like, these people, they're like movie villains. They're like movie villains. Unbelievable. It says conservative critics, and also some black activists. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, maybe put them at the start of that sentence. How she's enriched herself. She was fucking skint when she took the job. Now she's got at least 4 houses with pools and runways, and people are like, "Oh yeah, but they had 30 million in expenses." Yeah. All of their activism was done via Twitter and Facebook. So do you know where that 30 million in expenses went? Straight in fucking Patrice's arse pocket. The best trained Marxist you'll ever see. Right? Fucking obvious. That's good. Process that with puree brain. Yeah. Well, anyone who's ever read any long book knows you don't want to be a Marxist, don't you? If you've got any integrity, if you just want to rinse money through, launder money and steal it off poor people and just live like a decadent king of all, then yeah, maybe you want to be a Marxist. But everybody else says, "Fuck no, I'll actually want to do some work and earn my crust in an honest, decent manner." So yeah, well, Karl Marx. I mean, everybody knows Karl Marx was a complete shitbag. But these are the new recruits, aren't they? And hopefully, by pointing at them, calling themselves Marxists, whilst having a wine and cheese party around the mansion table, hopefully, bringing this to people's attention will disabuse the young, stupid people who don't know anything about Karl Marx. Because, yes, Rotten Politics, obviously a man who knows his way around a fucking history book, but some of these kids, they probably don't even know who Karl Marx is. I mean, they're absorbing an ideology they know nothing about, which is another thing I've said about before. The worst of it is, it's not even clever, is it? It's like it's not even clever or subtle or cunning or manipulative. It's just in your face. Like, they're not even trying anymore. And again, because they don't need to try, because the media in Silicon Valley fucking cover everything up. So Patrice Cullors calls herself a trained Marxist, and then the media in Silicon Valley say, "Oh, it's a right-wing smear calling her a Marxist." Fucking Susan just talks bollocks for a living. The raddled slut. Anyway, so go and watch the podcast of the Lotus Heaters. They do a great deep dive in all the different houses, the runways, the heated pools. These fucking, well, what? Let's let Cartman do it again because he just does it so much better than me. Hang on. Oh, the worst thing about this though is when you swap when you're opening a new window on Streamlab, it goes all the way back to the beginning again, which is sort of irritating. Oh well, here we are.
Thank you, Butters. All right, we need to go over there and find out what we can from those commie rats.
Yeah, go and watch the podcast of the Lotus Heaters. They'll tell you all you need to know about those commie rats. Right, what else have we got? Let me put some more news on. Oh yeah, there was one else, and there was another good one I wanted to talk about. It was yet another example of them telling you something and you knowing about something and everybody knowing about something, but the media pouring scorn on it like it's all a right-wing conspiracy. Everything's a right-wing conspiracy nowadays. If Owen Jones marched into my fucking house this instant, doused the kitchen in lighter fluid and set it ablaze, and then come over here, bent me over this desk and bummed me senseless while you watched it live, like he didn't know the camera was on. He didn't know the camera was on, and you were watching him go, smash my back doors in live on YouTube. They'd call it a right-wing conspiracy. This is the world we live in. Right-wing, it's just a right-wing conspiracy, lads. Just a right-wing conspiracy. Of course it is. You can't make this shit up. So anyway, here's another good example, right? US and Canada. How's this news? Fucking Pelosi. The woman's a walking fucking virus. She's like a Nurgle plague marine. She's just got the pox. Where's the fucking story gone now? Oh, it's fucked. Here we go. It is one mother. That was the one. Mother's mission to ban vulgar books, right? So the BBC have you noticed to put the little scare quotes around the word vulgar as well, right? They've put scare quotes around it. One mother's mission to ban vulgar books. As if you're a moron, right? And the only person who would call it vulgar would be like, I don't know, Mother Teresa. Oh yeah, that reminds me of a good joke. I haven't done a joke for ages. This is an old one. There's loads of Irish nuns driving through the middle of Dublin in a minibus, going back to the convent, and a stag do pulls up alongside them at the traffic lights. There's loads of pissed young lads getting mortaled in there, and one of them leans out the window with a can in his hand, and he's like, "All right, love, shows your baps, way," and they all start cheering. And one of the nuns turns to the Mother Superior, and she's like, "Mother, did you hear what that lad said there?" And she said, "Oh, they just don't realise you're nuns, that we're nuns. Show them your cross." She's got a cross down the neck, so she turns around and winds him down and goes, "You fucking little cunt, I'll rip your fucking balls off." And then she turns around and says, "You think I was cross enough there?" Yeah. It never works without a laugh track, does it? Anyway, vulgar. So, according to this story, there should be scare quotes around the word fucking news and story when you're doing anything off the BBC. According to this story, it's vulgar, right? Now, I happen to know that this is vulgar, and you're talking to a bloke who, for his hobby, swears on the internet for an hour a day, right? So it's not like I'm a Puritan, is it? Like, I'm not a Puritan, am I? There's nobody in the chat can listen to Bootneck talking about fisting and felching and calling everyone a cunt and conclude at the end of it that I'm a prude. Like, you know what I mean? Oh my God, I can't believe the things these people are putting in books. I'm not a prude, right? No one can accuse me. I like to think my record speaks for itself. I've got about 500 hours of content on YouTube. I don't think anybody could ever call me a prude. It's not like Hillary Clinton's going to come round my house, scratch a fanny and go, fucking hell, stop being a fucking pussy, you loser, right? I'm not a prudish person. But when I listened to a mother at a town, it wasn't a town hall, it was like a teacher's meeting, right? I listened to this mother march in and start kicking off with the teachers. And she started reading from this fucking Right Where I Left You book, right? And it was fucking shocking. I was telling my missus about it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's like 50 Shades of Grey for gay people. And it's like, I don't think anybody should be listening to stuff that's that graphic, even if it was heterosexual. Do you know what I mean? So this is what I'm saying about the lies that they're spreading. Even though they go on TV and read them out. Like, of course it's vulgar. 50 Shades of Grey is vulgar. Nobody, this is the fucking lunacy of it. And this is what if I can sum it up in 2 minutes, I never can. But I'll try before I go into the video. 50 Shades of Grey is heterosexual, normal sex. And again, I'm not a prude at all, right? Sex is normal. We all, at some point, everyone, even the most howling sack of rats, will eventually get their end away with someone just as ugly, right? So sex is the most normal thing in the world. I don't want to pour spot of scorn on any of that. I'm a liberal person. I've got no time for the sort of Baptist preachers who sort of demonize sex or masturbation. Yeah. Bootneck used to love flinging himself around his fucking grot all day when he was 15. But it's not acceptable for children. And that is just the way it is. I don't have to introduce LGBT or anything. It's not acceptable for children. It's perfectly normal for 20-year-old people should fuck each other. It's the most normal thing in the world. There's nothing to be ashamed of, masturbation, any of that. It's totally normal. We're just chimps with clothes on. It's evolutionary biology writ large. We have a powerful sex drive because if we didn't, we'd have gone extinct as a species. I am not in any way a fucking prude. However, that doesn't mean 5-year-old kids should be fucking reading about Boy George sucking spunk out of Ricky Martin's arsehole. And that is basically the fucking end of the argument, right? If it would be unacceptable to listen to them doing it with heterosexual sex, and it definitely is, because nobody in the fucking world thinks they should be reading 50 Shades of Grey to children, right? Normal, straight, heterosexual sex. Really popular books. All the young women loved it. But nobody thinks you should be reading that to a 10-year-old. Nobody. So why the fuck is it acceptable to read it to children when it's the same, except the genders are different, i.e. it's two blokes or two birds? Do you know what I'm saying? It's so obvious to anybody who's not a psychopath. I still can't believe that I have to talk about it. Like, these things shouldn't be on the BBC. I'd go so far as to say 95% of the fucking parents of the world agree with me. Do you think it's that high? Maybe higher. 96. I'm sure in this day and age, because you get any fucking loony can adopt a kid now. It's like, oh, you want a kid? Fuck it, have the cunt. But, you know, they're just giving a sack of rice away at a UN food handout in Somalia. Oh, you want a kid? Yeah. Fill me wheelbarrow. Fuck it. Let's have a few more there. It's like, so there's going to be some who think it's acceptable, but 98% of parents don't think that you should be reading this stuff to kids. So if you wouldn't read them straight heterosexual young adult pornography for fucking 18-year-olds, or razzle. I mean, fuck me. When I was a kid, you couldn't even buy regular porno mags, right? And that's just pictures. You couldn't just go in and buy a picture of a naked woman, which, you know, we're all fucking born naked. Couldn't even buy a picture of a naked woman. They were on the top shelf and they had little fucking markers over them, so you couldn't see the fucking beef curtains when you go in to buy a packet of fags and a paper. And I just think it's lunacy that we even have to talk about it, but it'll be funny, so let's have a look. I really hope I haven't watched this one. I'm just telling you the one I seen on of the woman reading the book out at a school thing, and I swear down, she got about 60 seconds into it. No, less than that, 20 seconds into it, and all the teachers were like, fucking hell, you can't read that out. You know what I'm saying? So they're all right reading it to your 11-year-old daughter, but as soon as the mother stood in front of all of the superintendents and the headmasters and the shit at the school, as soon as she started reading it, they were like, fucking hell, you can't do that. So I hopefully she'll read some of this out. Let's see. One mother's mission to ban there they ask what's vulgar. What do you mean noshing each other off's vulgar? Well, go on then, try and do it outside the local fucking primary school, you cunt. I mean, think about that. Why is it acceptable to read this fucking drivel to 10-year-olds? But if I just took my missus over at the local elementary school, primary school, and just fucking folded her over the park bench outside the school and just started going for it, yeah, the kids look out the window and there's me, fucking arse like a fiddler's elbow. There'd be a problem there. The authorities would get called, so they can't even look out the window and glance at a heterosexual couple having sex. But damn straight, they can sit in the classroom, and when they should be learning maths and fucking biology, although I suppose there is a biology lesson to be learned there, when they're supposed to be learning maths or chemistry or doing the words in a tin, instead they're getting read fucking gay porn. It's just fucking madness. It's just madness. So, in the last year, book challenges have flooded local school boards and state houses across the country at a pace not seen in decades. The BBC went to Katy, Texas, where the town school district has removed some books from its library shelves at a protest from parents about vulgar content. Students are speaking out against the move, saying it's a direct attack on their identity. Bollocks. Bollocks. The straight students wouldn't say it was an attack on their identity if they weren't allowed to read fucking 50 Shades of Grey in the middle of class. So, suck it. In fact, no, don't suck it. You lads have done enough sucking, but just take your medicine.
I'm not an advocate of censoring quickly anything, but these books are different because we're talking about a school library where there are minors involved. My name is Mary Ellen Cuzella. I'm a mother of 3 teenagers. I'm working on helping the school district remove vulgar books from our school libraries.
Mary Ellen has become a crusader of sorts in the suburban town of Katy, Texas. She's had success removing books that she believes contain inappropriate content for minors.
They listened to me and why I thought it should be removed, and the decision was to remove it from the libraries.
But not everyone is on board.
Censorship is not the legacy to create.
These banned books are important. They inspire people to do great things, and they inspire people to see themselves in these characters.
They inspire people to do great things. It's just fucking. It's not a great thing. Anyone can do it. Any dipshit with a cock can father a child. Wasn't that of Boys in the Hood? Any fool with a dick can have a kid, but it takes a real man to be a father. It's not complicated. It's just fucking. Nothing interesting. The sexuality of the characters shouldn't really be relevant, is it? If Atticus Finch was secretly into rimming sailors, it wouldn't have changed the message of the book in any way, shape, or form. This is what these little fucking freaks don't understand. These woke cunts. This is what they don't understand. Because they make their entire life about their identity, because they're fundamentally boring people, they think that your sexual identity is an integral part of what makes you valuable as a person. And they think you get a few extra steps on the ladder if you happen to like munching rug or smoking bloke. And to normal people, adults that are well aware that you spend 99.5% of your life not on the nest, we care about the content of your character and your deeds outside of the bedroom. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about, Atticus Finch or Odysseus or fucking any of the biggest and most colourful characters from the rich literary history of the human race. Who they happen to bounce on occasionally whilst in the fucking bedroom is of no interest to anybody who isn't a sexual deviant. And again, someone needs to just tell these kids what's what, because they haven't got the brains they were fucking born with. And also, when did we start letting the kids decide? Right? It's like Harriet Harman. I was discussing this with my missus earlier. Do you remember? Again, because they keep saying it's a conspiracy theory. It's a right-wing conspiracy theory that all the woke are all pedos and nonces and kiddie fiddlers. Do you remember Harriet Harman was even involved with that shit in the 90s? It transpired that Harriet Harman and loads of old fucking Labour degenerates were involved in these weird crusades to try and get the sexual consent age down to 12 and shit like that. It's madness. It's madness. It is just self-evidently wrong. And I don't understand it. I was saying to my missus, like, is it purely based off this critical theory thing, i.e. the communists get trained that there's no such thing as a grand narrative? And because we've accepted for the last century or two, since Victorian Britain, basically, when we decided it wasn't really fair to marry girls off to fucking hairy-ass blokes when they were 12, basically, because we've, for many, many, many years, pushed the idea that it's immoral to have a young girl be sexually subservient to a grown man. And the right thing to do is allow teenagers to shag each other when they're a little bit older and figure this out for themselves. For some reason, they think to me, it seems that they just want to question everything. So because the general narrative is you shouldn't fuck kids, they've decided, well, you should then. Right? There's no grand narratives. No such thing as a grand narrative. You tell me up, I say down. You say grass is green, I say, is it though? Is it really green? You tell me not to bum a fucking 8-year-old till her head falls off. I say, yeah, you can probably just do it. They might like it. Harriet Harman. Yeah. Oh, it's all right. Kids like it. Listen, freak. They don't. Yeah. I do believe in grand narratives because I haven't got a head full of fresh air. And it genuinely baffles me that we've started listening to the children. Just think of it with anything else. Just get rid of the sex thing. Just get rid of it and just think, why don't we do it with fags then? Why don't we just say, smoke as many as you like, love? You catch a 10-year-old behind the bike sheds with a packet of Lambert and Butler and you say, fuck it, son. Knock yourself out. They're good fags. I like them. You know what I mean? 9-year-olds at the bookies. Come on, you bastard, at the casino. Who cares? Kids are well clever. Kids are well clever. Kids are switched on, baby. We don't do it with anything else. We don't do it with anything that wisdom, the grand narrative, passed down from the ages, has suggested is unsuitable for children. We don't do it with booze. We don't do it with fags. We don't do it with gambling. We don't do it with fuck all. But for some reason, when it comes to bumming, these wokists are like, yeah. Is it about the narrative or are you just a dirty nonce? Answers on a postcard. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant. Shut the fuck up, son. You're 14. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care. Keep trying to put the voting age down, don't they? Because the communists can't win when you have a free and fair election. We should be putting it up. Kids nowadays are thick as fuck. If anything, they've got less mature, not more mature. The internet has made people less mature. Right? They say that now. They say 30 is the new 20. Of course they do. Of course they do. So, 30 is the new 20. Well, we're putting the voting age up to 25 then, you clueless cunts. How's about that? I'll tell you why that'll never happen, because if the voting age gets put up to 25, the woke will never win fuck all. Because the only people they win over are young, dumb, full of cum. Well, unless they've emptied it into a fucking choir boys ring piece. Young, dumb, and full of cum. If they put the voting age up to 25, they'd all be fucked. But I mean, seriously, shouldn't it have gone up? Shouldn't it have gone up, the voting age? It definitely should be higher than 18 now. We've got way, way less mature in the last 30 years. Everyone, you got like 35-year-old men just sitting in their house playing video games all day now. So fuck it, mate. Put the voting age up. Put up to 21, 25, 30. It's like, so what we listening to him for? Right? Again, ignore the sex argument. What we listening to these kids for? You don't listen to kids. You tell them what to do. You tell them what to do. You don't listen to them. Fuck them. Fuck them. And anyone who's grown up knows it. My dad gave me loads of advice when I was 17. I'd go, what do you know, old man? What do you know, old square? And then you get to like 30 and you go, fucking hell, the old cunt was right about everything. I mean, am I wrong? Anyone over the age of fucking 30 in the comments. Your dad tells you stuff, what you should know. No, you shouldn't do that, son. You should do this. No, you shouldn't buy the fucking daft shoes that are twice overpriced, getting charged 3 times what they're worth. The daft fucking shoes because the basketball player wore them. No, what you should do is you should put it in mutual funds. And you go, yeah, fuck off, man. Old squares don't know nothing, bro. I'm hip. I'm with it. I'm down. And then 20 years later, you go, fucking hell, the old bastard was right about everything. That's what you do. So what are we listening to them for? I don't care. The BBC's trying to say, okay, this woman's making a point, but fuck her, because these kids are going to tell you what's what, bro. And anyone with a head, with the brains in it, says, well, we don't listen to fucking 12-year-olds, do we? We don't listen to these little punk kids. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. You're not old enough to drive. You're not old enough to drink. You're not old enough to smoke. You're not old enough to gamble. You haven't got a mortgage. You don't pay taxes. Shut the fuck up and put the TV back on and watch the bastard Teletubbies. Right? Easy.
United States, it's the one area of debate left around government censorship. We don't have discussions around what adults can read. The debate is around what young people can access.
This is how that debate is playing out.
All kinds of people are degraded in this book.
I met up with Mary Ellen just hours before she'd speak at yet another school board meeting. She brought some books along.
Talks about in 4th grade at a church youth group, out in the bushes behind the parsonage. I touched Doug Goebel's and he touched mine. In fact, there were even some mouths involved. And it's talked throughout the book, that scene. Let me tell you, nobody gives about you. Nobody thinks about you. You ain't got no friends. You ain't got nobody who gives about you. Okay.
Fucking hell, they swear more than me, these cunts, don't they? That's like something from the fat slags out of Viz. You know what I mean? Reading that to an 11-year-old. Hey, son, shove it up my fucking ass. I don't want children reading this fucking stuff. How do they swear more in kids' books than me? And I'm not even, people say swear like a sailor. Bootnecks are like sailors on steroids. And even I don't swear as much as them. I'll just beep, 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 shove it up my beep and beep, smash me fucking beep, dirt box in, beep, beep. Oh no, shit, I missed all the swear words. Yeah. Doug said, ram it up my fucking shit box. Come on, ream me till my fucking eyes bleed. Do it. Cover me in crusty spunk and leave me in the bus shelter for the teachers to look at. It's fucking lunacy. Yeah, and we're the crazy ones. It's just a conspiracy, lads. It's just a conspiracy. Fuck me. Yeah, I'm a modern day man. I'm often accused of being prim and proper.
The boy was pressuring the young girl, asking her about her virginity. My boyfriend really wants to do a boy with his pants down. You can see visually here. All of these books include teenagers and young people, that they are being exploited. My own children, they know the work I'm doing, and they know that their mother is always here advocating for their welfare. So there's not.
I just seen the words on the page there. It just said sucking his dick. Like, again. You know what I used to read when I was their age? Fucking Super Ted. So remember Super Ted? At no point did Super Ted rim Texas Pete's fucking rusty sheriff's badge. I mean, he was a sheriff, but Super Ted went nowhere near it. These people are fucking freaks. So the parent's normal. Obviously, she's just a normal woman. You know, she's not some sort of fire and brimstone preacher going, they're going to burn in the fires of hell, I tell you. Just a normal mother who's going, should kids be reading this stuff, really? I mean, none of us did. None of us did. When I was their age, it really was. it was all the classics, right? When you're sort of 10, 11, 12, it was like, what did we do? Lord of the Flies, do a bit of Shakespeare, Macbeth and stuff, a bit of violence, but it's, these are literary classics. There was never any talk of gobbling and shit stabbing and fucking plunging into your sister's cinnamon ring, whatever twisted fucking shit these people are coming out with. So, like, it's just mad. It's mad. Anyway, I want to see the counter argument.
Not a question of whether I have good intentions for them or not.
I want to see the counter argument presented by a gender fluid, purple haired 8-year-old with a coach ball fired through a fucking nose. Yeah, because that's, you know what that's going to be it.
Mary Ellen has 2 teenagers in the school district, but she had never really given much thought to the books they had access to in school until last fall. That's when she stumbled upon a Republican's campaign for governor of Virginia.
In Fairfax County this past week, we watched parents so upset because there was such sexually explicit material in the library they had never seen. It was shocking. I believe parents should be in charge of their kids' education.
Mr. McCullough, 30 seconds.
Yeah, they should. Again, any parents disagree with that? Parents should be in charge of the children's education. I mean, is that unreasonable? Is that unreasonable? They're your children. They belong here. Again, might sound, see, this will be it. It's critical theory. No, they don't belong to anyone, man. It takes a village, bro. Well, it doesn't take a village. It takes one person to tell you to fuck off, and that's me doing it. It doesn't take a village. It takes a mother and a father, ideally. You can get away with a single parent. I'm not disparaging single parents, but I mean, essentially, they are your property up until they're 16, 17, getting on a bit, right? This is just the way it is. And it might be this whole critical race thing, critical theory, question everything, but every normal person knows it's bollocks, and the natural world knows it's bollocks. That's why a fucking wolf or a bear has a kid, and they know to look after it until it's old enough to fuck off on its own, right? It's just a basic thing. Even a rat looks after the kids till they're old enough to go on the fucking own. So I'm sorry, I don't think parents should be just totally opting out of parenting and just handing them over to the state to be indoctrinated by deranged far left perverts with a fucking ideology that's warped the brain, right? Controversial, I know.
Efforts to rid school libraries of certain books are rising at a pace not seen in years, and it's happening at all levels of government, from school board meetings to state houses, possibly impacting tens of thousands of students.
There's almost a deliberate attempt to make it a partisan issue.
In the fall of 2021, a Texas lawmaker compiled a list of more than 800 books he said he was targeting because they could make students feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or other psychological distress.
Just so you know as well, I take issue with the word book banning as well, because again, they're trying to paint it as banning books. They aren't banning books. At no point has anyone ever said we should ban a book. They're trying to paint the normal people. I'm not even going to say right wing, because it's not, is it? It's like the trans thing now. They're not right wing. They keep talking about this trans ideology. People like Pawsey Parker, Meghan Murphy, they're not right wing, they're left wing. Protecting children and protecting women is not a right versus left issue. It's everybody else versus the communists issue. It's not right versus left. Millions of left-wing women. I've watched the interviews myself on YouTube. Get an interview by Fox saying I'm politically homeless. I've voted Democrat for the last 7 elections, and I'm now politically homeless because they will not stand up for the rights of women. Again, it's because of human nature to want to protect the weak and the vulnerable. All men who aren't sociopaths want to protect the weak and the vulnerable. It's not a partisan issue. It's protecting women and kids. When the Titanic was sinking, they went, women and kids first. Someone didn't go, it's the partisan issue. It's protecting women and kids, you fucking freaks. That's why people care about. It's not right-wingers. It's every parent who's not a psychopath. It's people fucking lunatics. Oh, Paz is in. All right, Paz. Always good to see Paz. I'm sure nobody who listens to me hasn't subscribed to Paz, but go and do it anyway. It's not a left versus right issue. Definitely not. Like I said, it's been ingrained in humans for thousands of years. You know how they want to just deconstruct everything and say there's no grand narratives. It's been ingrained in humanity for thousands of years. Probably, you know, I like to always go back to evolutionary biology. Probably down to that, isn't it? Because we probably realized millennia ago that if all the women were still around and there was only a few blokes, you could still repopulate your tribe. But the women are far more important. That's why when you go hunting out here in the States, everyone who goes hunting, they shoot the fucking blokes and not the birds, right? Shoot the big fuckers with the antlers, not the little fuckers without them. Because if you shoot all the birds, you don't have any deer next year. So it's nothing to do with narratives. It's fucking basic common sense, right? So protecting women and children has been ingrained in the human psyche since we crawled out the bastard oceans. You know you need to look after the women or the kids or you go extinct. So stop talking to the bit about it as if it's some sort of the right-wing smears. The right-wing smears. It's fucking monkeys do it. Monkeys do it. We're apes. Not monkeys, because we haven't got a tail. Yeah, I do know some of the science. We're apes. We know. If a fucking bonobo does it, I think I've got the brains to get my head around it. It's not a right versus left issue. It wasn't in ancient Sparta. Yeah, it wasn't when the Persians got twatted by the Spartans at Thermopylae. It wasn't when the Romans were fucking raping and pillaging. It wasn't when the Vikings did it. And it wasn't in World War II. They didn't not have black disabled lesbians on the beaches of Dunkirk because of the patriarchy. They did it because we want to continue the fucking existence of the British people. And that's why all the blokes went to do the scrapping and all the birds, most of them, stayed at home. It's common sense. It's human nature. It's not a political football. So wind your neck in, you dippy communist cunt.
Yes. Among the books in his list are some on the Black Lives Matter movement.
And none of them are getting banned, just from little children reading them. Not getting banned. You can read them. I can read them. They just don't want fucking 12-year-olds reading them. Seems reasonable to me.
Explorations on racism and the LGBTQ community, and even this one, on the coming of age right of young
Look at that one.
racism and the LGBTQ community.
It's actually called This Book is Gay. Imagine that. Right, kids, what do you want? We've got the Gruffalo, we've got the Teletubbies, and we've got This Book is Gay. You fucking lunatics. It's like, you know what I'm saying about them not being subtle because they don't care. They don't care because they don't need to care, because the only people who'll see this is the 300 and odd people who are smart enough to watch this. Because when they say something like This Book is Gay, and they go on TV, I've seen it with my own eyes, I've heard it with my own ears, and say, fuck yeah, we've got a gay agenda. Yeah, we've got a gay agenda. Yeah, we're trained Marxists. Nobody will tell you. The CNN won't tell you, the BBC won't tell you, MSNBC won't tell you, Silicon Valley won't tell you, Google won't tell you, YouTube won't tell you, Facebook won't tell you. So they'll go, yeah, this book is gay. Like, that's how, you know what I mean? Get fucking Ron DeSantis in, oh, there's a bit of a gay conspiracy going on here, and they'll go, ooh, a conspiracy theory. And then the kids go home from school, and one of them's carrying, this book is fucking gay. That's a good one, Davey. It's a pop-up book. Yeah. Okay, now.
Community, and even this one, on the coming of age right of young Latinas.
You could describe it as an effort to restore a status quo that may never have existed around race and sexual identity. Book challenges have always reflected larger conversations we've had in the United States around issues like education, race, sex. This is an area of the culture wars that naturally lends itself to polarization.
Here in Katy, a town that barely leans liberal, what started as Mary Ellen's fight against sexual content has become a battle about censorship.
They're
Oh, I
flying
read
away.
The Sun is Also a Star. That's a great book.
Yeah, so a lot of these books are in KDISD libraries, but not accessible in every single high school, so only a couple.
That's why this group of students has been organizing against any kind of book removals.
Yeah. So they're saying, basically, she's managed to get the filthy shit removed from high schools. So we'll go around and plant them all in the libraries, and obviously they're getting pumped by the media. And again, they're not getting banned. They just don't want kids seeing them. What's wrong with that? Right? The analogy is a good one. Fags aren't banned, booze isn't banned, gambling isn't banned. You're just not allowed to do it, promote it to fucking 8-year-olds. It'd be the equivalent. Do you remember when we were kids? I think when I was a kid, probably in the 90s, was when they changed the law. So you weren't allowed to advertise booze and fags if you were in like a position of authority, i.e. you couldn't have like Andy Peters sat in the fucking broom club with Gordon the Gopher, remember? And he used to go, come on, Gordon, what you doing? You couldn't have Andy Peters like spark up with Benson and Edges and go, all right, kids, smoke tabs. Yeah. They weren't allowed because they knew that kids are impressionable. That's all this is, right? If Philip Schofield couldn't sit there with his duck and go, what you doing, Ed? Oh, you're smoking fags, Ed. What type of fags are there? Silk cut. Fucking hell, Ed, that is smooth. You're not allowed because kids are impressionable. That's all this is. In fact, I've been going nearly an hour. These fucking things take ages. Let me just quickly blast through it. So the kids are doing a counter march and they're all 16. Yeah, kids. Well, I'm sorry, Karen. That's as I talked about earlier, 15-year-old. I don't think in any aspect of my life I would ever, because the BBC is trying to present this, make them look like the sensible ones, and you're just a scaremongering freak if you don't want them to read books about women, right? I'll just draw a line under it and say this. In absolutely no aspect of my life have I ever done anything ever and thought that I should get advice from a 15-year-old rather than a 45-year-old, right? That's case closed, yeah? Anybody watching, if you're having problems with your life, if things aren't going your way, if you're having financial issues, if your wife leaves you, let's say you have a terrible week. It all happens in 1 week, right? So we can get away from this issue, and this is a good place to sum up with some sound life advice, right? Let's say, just trying to distill this down. Who should we listen to? The mother on a mission to ban vulgar books, or Zara, the 15-year-old student? If you have a life crisis, you wake up next Monday, your wife said she's leaving you. She says, listen, you've got a cock like a fucking rolled up ear defender. You're shit in bed. You're a loser. I'm leaving you. And you go, oh, no. And then an hour later, your boss rings you and he says, you're a shit employee. You're getting sacked. And then an hour later, the bank manager rings you and says, we're going to foreclose on your house because you're a useless twat and you keep missing your payments. 3 big issues. Bam, bam, bam. One after the other. Who do you ring for advice? Do you ring the 47-year-old mother, or do you ring Zara, your 15-year-old niece? Anybody? Who do you ask for advice? Let's say you've got $1,000 to invest. Who do you ring for advice? Do you ring your dad, your 55-year-old dad? Or do you ring your 15-year-old niece and say, tell me what to do, oh wise one? Tell me with your fucking years of knowledge, your sage advice. Answers on a postcard. If anybody out there said, Zara, my 15-year-old niece, smash your head in on the desk and then unsubscribe and go and fucking do something more akin to your intellectual prowess, which would be, I don't know. I don't even know how thick you'd have to be. Go and roll around on the floor with the slugs in your garden because you've got the IQ of one. Nobody in life thinks you should take the advice from a 15-year-old rather than a 45-year-old. That's why children do as they're fucking told and adults raise them. And when Zahara's 20 and she's allowed to vote, She can do whatever stupid shit that she likes. But until then, she should indeed be at the whims of her parents, because old people know shit and young people don't. And if you're a young lad, I'm sorry to drop that on you, but it's true. Take it from me. You'll ignore your dad until you're about 30, and then you'll go, holy shit, the old bastard was right about everything. Right? So, Zara, sorry, your word is worthless to me. I'll listen to your mum and dad, thanks. All right? It was nearly an hour. You can have that for free, you twat. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. At which point, hopefully, we can talk about something other than nonsense. Because I've had enough. I mean, how many videos have I had to make about pedos since the lefties took over the world? Just they really are in every bush now. Remember when Brass Eye did that thing, pedophobia, and said, "Oh yeah, Britain's full of weirdos because they always think there's a masturbating nonce in every bush you walk past." Well, in 2022, the fucking is. So this is the time we're living in. I'll see you tomorrow. Please don't send me any more stories about nonsense. We'll try and do something more educated and civilized tomorrow. All right? If anyone sends me any more dick pics, Jimmy Savile photographs, Gary Glitter, although, no, I don't. Even though he did a good Christmas song, I don't want to see any more pictures of Gary Glitter either. Thanks, everybody, for listening. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip.